What's up, guys? And yes, we got to play the riff raids. Now, today I'm going to be telling you all of the information you're going to need for Thursday. Yes, you heard that right. Thursday is going to start riff raids, and it's going to be a ton of fun. Now, this mode really is what we've been begging for, what we've been asking for, something where we can use more of our roster, something that's going to actually challenge us and leverage the alliances. Now, before this, alliances really were just for, getting some extra rewards with dungeons and things like that. But in this case, you are going to need to make sure you're in a good alliance that's very active and is going to be working together. Communication is going to be key. So whether that's comments in the game or it's actually having your own Discord where you can communicate all the different attacks and things like that, it will be important if you're going to be on one of those top tiers. But keep in mind, it's not all about being at the top tier. You definitely are going to get rewards anywhere you are, but make sure you set your expectations based on how active and how much your club really wants it. Now, going back to the riff raids, yes, Kabam invited myself, a couple of the KCP members, as well as a few mods to go into the riff raids with the devs. It was a ton of fun, and guys, this was one of the most fun modes I've played in any of the mobile games, because of the communication that we were having during the event. Now, if you hang out on stream, you know our other friends, It's Guest Gaming and Unstable Gamer, and that was one of the most fun parts. We were over on Discord together talking as we were doing this and really communicating our attacks, talking through what teams we were using, the Guardians, what was working, what wasn't, and that really pushed us further. And yes, we made it to tier 13 in just 2 hours. Now, we'll caveat all of this with the fact that Kabam let us play these riff raids. What we played may not be the exact final piece that we're going to be seeing on Thursday, but they did bring the timers down so that we could get our energy a lot faster and really try to see as far as we could get and test as much as we could. This is pretty huge. They are allowing us to really get hands-on, get feedback, and I thought that was really awesome of them. A lot of games don't really have that. They just release modes to see what happens, and yeah, I think we got to push it because we have a lot of people in there that had crazy rosters. We had some people that had some smaller rosters, and it was really good feedback to figure out, okay, if you're at this level or you're at that level, what are the expectations of how far you're actually going to get to make it? One of the big keys here is the energy supplies. You're going to be getting those every 8 hours. Again, when we were doing this mode, we were getting them fairly frequently so that we can do some testing. So it's going to be important to understand how many attacks you're going to be able to do with them, because there's no real way to buy extra energy. Now, I know a lot of people have looked at the patch notes. We've talked about it before. Yes, you can use orbs to bring that timer down, but what's going to end up happening is as soon as you use those orbs, it's going to reset your timer. So every 8 hours you are getting those supply bundles, and let's say 2 hours later you wanted to purchase some more, it's just going to essentially give them to you and reset that clock to 8 hours. So there is going to be an optimal way of when to buy this energy, as well as the fact that every tier you go up, well, the energy increases. So you're not going to want to start off and just hit that refresh constantly at the beginning. You're going to kind of want to wait till towards the end of the day, if you're going to do it, to spend your orbs to make sure you're at the highest tier you're going to be for that day, because these reset every day. And they are limited to just 5 purchases. So we're not going to have the Krakens in there buying 15 or 30 refreshes. They can only do 5 a day. The event only lasts 3 days, so theoretically you're only going to get 15 of these refreshes, so you want to make sure you're using them exactly when you want to. And of course, I'm talking to the spenders, the whales, the Krakens that are going to want to use their orbs here. Honestly though, I think you may be better off using your energy over in dungeons, just because you're going to be able to get those relics to boost your characters and all of that kind of stuff. So of course people will be doing this, and it seemed like a decent idea in certain areas, but you want to make sure you're aware of that timer and how it's going to interact. So moving into the attacks, man, this was a lot of fun because I really do think that Kabam thought through this process and they have built a very good mode. Now, we've gone through patch notes and things like that, but to see it firsthand really made me understand what was going on. And let's just break that down a little bit. You've got your minion nodes, and your minion nodes are attached to the sentinel nodes, and you need to take down all the sentinel nodes in order to attack that gatekeeper. Once you beat your gatekeeper, you're going to move to the next tier, and so on and so forth, up to tier 30. Now, I don't know if any of the alliances are going to be able to get to tier 30. I don't want to say they can't, because I know that there's some alliances out there with some really heavy spenders but I will say we got to tier 13 and yeah, it was starting to get a little difficult. So the way it works is these sentinel nodes have those minion nodes attached to them, and essentially each of those minion nodes are going to boost the sentinel's power. So early on, you don't need to worry about the minion nodes. I would say up to maybe tier 9, tier 10, we didn't even worry about them. We were just attacking the sentinel nodes straight, and this worked pretty well. Now we'll caveat that a little bit. Most of us have pretty decent rosters. Even the smaller rosters had some pretty good characters, some guardians that were level 70 or 80. And this was how we could do this. But the beauty of this is as you take down those minion nodes, so maybe you hit one of the sentinels that you can't take down, maybe a little bit harder, you're able to hit the minion nodes to bring their power down and then be able to take care of them then. Now, the other cool thing about this is each of the sentinel nodes had a different amount of nodes attached to it. So in our case, we were looking at characters like Gaston and Scrooge that had like 6 minion nodes attached to it. So once we got up tier 10 and plus, man, it was hard to really try to beat them without taking down the minions. So when we started getting there, we were taking down minions, and yeah, it became a little bit easier. And that's going to be one of the keys within your alliance, is understanding at what point do you need to start focusing on those minions. Now, going back to energy for a second, yes, energy was key, and this is the one thing you are going to need to be very, very aware of. If 2 people go into the same sentinel node, well, it's going to tell the second person, it's not going to tell the first person, and of course, a bunch of us were doing this. We didn't care it was popping up because we wanted to play the mode, which means we were wasting energy. Every time we went in there, we would get that notification, continue on through, because we wanted to try to go against, you know, Snow White, Maleficent, all these different characters to really see what it meant with the traits, what it meant with the bonuses and things like that. And yeah, if you do this when it actually launches on Thursday, you're going to waste a lot of energy and not be very efficient with going as far as you can. Because of that, we're coming back to the fact that you need to communicate, whether it's in-game chat or it's going to be something on Discord. You need to call your shots, say where you're attacking, because not only did we have that going on with the Sentinel, we had that going on with the nodes. People were going and taking down some of those minion nodes around the Sentinel, but most of us could go ahead and just take care of the Sentinel without that happening. And same thing there, wasted energy as we were going through. Now, people that do that, they still get points, so you are still building up your score. It's not like it's realistically fully wasted. I'm just saying if you keep that energy for a little bit later, they may be helpful as you get to the higher tiers to be able to actually benefit from that spend, not just get a few points here and there. So after you take down all those Sentinel nodes, you're going to go into the Gatekeeper. And yeah, the Gatekeeper is pretty awesome. It's a really cool mechanic in the way they have it set up. And they have it so you can't solo it. Everybody can only do 10% damage max to this Guardian. So you need to make sure that your attacks are going in properly. And that means you're going to need 10 attacks. Now, what you can do is attack the Guardian multiple times. So maybe you're in a smaller alliance and you only have 5 people. Everybody can do 2 attacks and that would be fine. Just keep in mind, you're going to need 10 attacks total. Same thing goes for here with the energy. A lot of us got really excited and we're just clicking in. We have 15 people attacking the Guardian, which means, hey, we got 5 wasted attacks. So keep it in mind. Yes, they're going to get points. It's going to help your overall score, but those 5 attacks would have been better just saving for the next rift tier and continuing from there. Now, what's cool about all these points and things like that is you do have leaderboards. Yes, there's the leaderboards, there's the rankings, there's all that kind of stuff so that your alliance can brag to other alliances. But what was fun in this particular case is you can also brag within your alliance. Now, just like every game, it really doesn't matter because you're working together, but it's always those bragging rights. And in this case, we took second. I was trying to get first so bad, but right at the buzzer, Gaza T just laid it down and got that extra hit in and took me out of first place, but it was a ton of fun. And like I said, we had a whole bunch of people in there. It wasn't just the big whales like myself and Gaza at the top of the list. We even had Owler, one of the awesome mods over in the Discord, playing with us. And well, her account isn't necessarily anywhere near ours, and she came in 5th. So she beat out a few of those other guys like Easy and Ibby and some of those other, you know, big accounts that you've seen going around. So it is about being efficient with your attacks and making sure you're getting as most points as you can. So that leads us into, well, the traits. And this is the thing that's really going to affect a lot of people. Now, if you haven't already checked it out, I did a video the other day that said, hey, here's the top 12 Guardians that you should be looking at in raids. And I'm telling you guys, it did not let me down. So if you saw the update notes already, we can see that traits are being added to a lot of these Guardians. And yes, that is going to shake up the exact list I gave you the other day as far as traits go, but none of these guardians got really affected outside of the fact that, well, Oogie Boogie got even better. So if I'm looking at the list, Oogie Boogie probably comes up just a little bit because he did get shapeshifting and scary, and that's really going to help him in this mode with his goofball tag. And that's what it's going to come down to, guys. Make sure you have a lot of tags because these traits were pretty crazy. Now, after playing the mode and getting some more information and talking to the devs, the way it's going to work are these sentinel nodes are going to be specific traits. So in our case, we had one that was leader, we had one that was royalty, we had another that was goofball. And so you had to make sure as you were going against those that that was going to be one of the main traits that becomes required as you progress in your tiers. So what we're seeing over on the goofball one, and that one was specifically against Oogie Boogie, you had different traits combinations like goofball plus royalty. So you wanted to make sure you had a character like Simba in that particular spot. You had another one that was goofball plus scary. So again, Oogie Boogie was good for that spot. Now these bonuses, one would maybe bonus, one would maybe required. And again, as you went further, these requirements started to pop up, not just the bonuses. And you wanted to make sure you're putting the right characters in the right slots. We did not hit any where both of them were required, but it would not surprise me if you get in the high 20s. Maybe we start to see where both traits are required. And so you need to be aware. And again, back to the roster, you want to make sure you have a slightly wide roster. Now, I don't think you need all 50 guardians to be fully maxed out or anything like that, but you are going to need a pretty strong 10. With that, there were several different nodes that I could just plug people in. So I have really good guardians that I like Zerg or maybe Ariel or Bob, and maybe they didn't get a bonus. Maybe I just overlooked a bonus on that one slot, and that was fine because I could hit the other bonuses. So I know in one of the other ones I had like leader and maybe gravity defying or something like that, and I just stuck hero in there, and yeah, I put Bob in the other spot just to make sure I had my damage dealer and my support. And then I tried to fit that third spot to hit maybe one or two bonuses in there. So it's pretty good. You just have to kind of look and figure out what's going to be the best team. But it is pretty nice that we're going to be seeing these sentinels with a theme around them so you can start to look at them. Now, going back to the alliance, this is an alliance mission, so you don't have to be able to attack all the different sentinels. And I think that this is where it really worked out. Going back to the example with Aller was really good at a very specific node because, well, she loves her Oogie Boogie. So she was able to focus in that team on specific nodes, each tier, and everybody else kind of called the other nodes to go after those. So communication again is key, making sure that, hey, if I'm really good against royalty, maybe I've got a team that I'm really strong with, well, maybe I will call that particular Snow White, or who knows, maybe it'll be Ariel or something else in the future. But you just call those spots to make sure you're using your best team on that node while somebody else's leader team is hitting the other sentinel node. Now, going off that information, what was really cool is talking to the devs. They said that their anticipation and what they want to have is multiple of these sentinel nodes that can rotate each of the raids, so you're not seeing the same 5 each time. And what's also nice about that is they're also looking at the multiple traits. So for instance, we had Gaston in ours, and I want to say he was leader, but I can't really remember exactly which trait they were looking off of. But they did mention maybe next time you see Gaston, maybe he's tall. Maybe he's one of his other traits, and that's going to be the basis around that sentinel node. So this can really lead to, again, a lot of replayability and making sure that you're using a lot more of your roster. And yeah, that's why you really want to make sure, like I've said multiple times, you want about 10 or 12 guardians that you really like and you've upgraded and things like that. And if you're free to play, I get 10 guardians may be a lot to invest in. So focus on your 3, then add in another, then add in another, and kind of slowly widen that roster while making sure that your core is strong. Make sure that you have one attacker that you really like, one support you really like, and one tank you really like, and then kind of go out from there. Now, again, what was really cool about this is I don't really think it mattered as much about your power. Yes, you had to make sure your team had great synergy, and yes, you could use the potions to boost that power, but there was several nodes where I would take in, let's say, a 13k team against a 30k team. Yes, you heard that right, 30k teams. It was crazy, but I was able to win a lot of those, and it was just about making sure that you knew how to use your teams and how to use those synergies and kind of survive through the battle. So it was a ton of fun, and I really enjoyed it, guys. And yeah, we'll go through some of my big guardians just to give you a heads up of what I use, but keep in mind, We don't know what's going to come on Thursday. We may see some different traits, may see some different sentinels, but I can tell you, I really still think that these guardians are going to be really, really helpful and useful moving forward. So you may be scared. You may be thinking, well, how many guardians do I actually need? Do I need 15? Do I need 20? And here's the answer. I used 8. I used 8 guardians this entire time through tier 13. And yes, I think if we continued further, I may have needed to throw in a 9th or a 10th, because some of those traits were getting a little tricky to fill the slots. The 8 that I used, well, I used Ariel, and I didn't use her a lot. So Ariel is one of my damage dealers, and specifically against Snow White, who is royalty, I made sure that I kept using Ariel as my damage dealer there, as I could build around her and make sure that she could always fill that one slot. That was, I believe, required royalty and a bonus on melee. From there, I started to look at my other damage dealers, and I had guys like Bob and Zerg. So those are my 3 damage dealer: Bob, Zerg, and Ariel. And I would say probably 60% of the time I was using Zerg, maybe 10% of the time I was using Ariel, maybe a little less than that. And then again, 35 or so percent I was using Bob. Now I know the math, yeah, but pretty much Ariel was only on the snow, and I either use Bob or Zerg along the way. From there, I look at my supports, and I'm a hero guy. A lot of people like Scrooge and things like that, but hero is my go-to, and I was using hero on most every node. Whether it was Bob or Zerg, he was my smart that I was plugging in. The other supports I used were Mickey. He was very good at being a plug and play, and he could just heal up everybody as I was going through. And of course, the legendary Jack Skellington. I know most beta players have this guy. Most people don't have this guy, and yeah, we're hoping a little bit later in October we can have him come around. But I'm telling you guys, hero plus Jack Skellington tend to be on a lot of my different teams, especially because Scary was being used a good bit throughout the traits in here. So far that's our 6, and well, our other 2, yeah, they were just kind of being used here and there. So this was Simba and Wally. I'm not a big tank guy, but occasionally we needed things like royalty, we needed goofball. So Simba slotted into a lot of those, and then Wally was good. Wally is a really, really good tank, and so I used those 2 guys when I needed to fill in slots. But if I wasn't doing that, then it was usually just something more of a big attacker plus, you know, my 2 supports as I went in there. So those are the 8 that I used. I really enjoyed them. If I had a 9 that I was going to slot in there, it would have been Oogie Boogie. I think Oogie was really good, and he would have fit a lot of traits, but honestly, my Oogie was only level 50 with no investment whatsoever. So over the last week, I've got him up to almost 80 now. So he'll slot into there in the 9th spot, and then from there, we'll just kind of look. We've got characters like Scrooge that are pretty good to be slotting into teams as we go through. Violet, I heard from a couple of the other members, really liked her on a bunch of the teams. But like I said, when I hit Lawless and things like that, I usually just put in my Mr. Incredible as my attacker. And that's the beauty of this. It doesn't matter what slot it is, whether it's left, right, or center. You can just move your guys around. And then there's a little piece that you can move around. So a little pointer to say, this is my leader. And when you went and started the battle, that was the person you were controlling from the beginning. So all in all, guys, it was a ton of fun. I know I've said fun a lot through this video, but this is the mode we've been asking for. This is the mode that we needed. And yeah, I mean, I'm so excited. This Thursday is gonna be a whole bunch of fun. And guys, if you want to see it live, come over to the Discord. Myself, Guest, and Unstable are gonna be streaming on Thursday as they drop and as they open, probably starting around 8 p.m. Eastern. So definitely come check us out. We'll all be streaming. Jump around between the different streams. Come hang out with us. I'm gonna have a really fun interactive stream over there. And so yeah, just come and see what we do, how we're doing it, where we're talking, because we're gonna be calling our shots going through, answering questions, all of that as you go into Riff Raid. So if you have those questions, feel free, go down below, leave a comment. I will answer all the comments that I can throughout the day and tomorrow as we get into Riff Raids. And again, Thursday, come hang out with us live. Ask us about them, check them out. Link will be in the description. And if you haven't checked out the patch notes, I will put the video up over here, left and right. It's hard on the camera, but over here, I'll put the link to the patch notes video. So definitely check that out. Get the rest of the information of what's going on. I can't wait, guys. We've got dungeons, we've got relics, we've got all kinds of updates coming through here. Definitely check out the Guardians because some traits changed on a few of the Guardians. We've got 2 new leaders in the game, and then we're gonna have 2 new characters coming in October. So a lot of information in that video. Definitely check it out. And I can't wait, guys. So until next time, y'all take it easy.